The headline from that game was not the quarterback of Washington. It was the quarterback of Cleveland. And what now I think has to reasonably be described as the worst transaction in football history. There has never been a deal when you consider, I keep saying transaction because it's the trade and then the contract, than what the Browns gave up and gave to Deshaun Watson. It's the biggest disaster in the history of the sport.
He is the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. Dead last in practically everything. I put together a list of all the things that he's worst at. It's too long to read. It's ridiculous. And by the way, he carries a $73 million cap hit next year and the year after. We're talking about a situation where Kevin Stefanski, if he's a smart man, will do whatever he can to get out of there. Because Jimmy Haslam, the owner, has completely ruined the organization. And honestly, he absolutely deserves it.
He also, and by he I mean Deshaun Watson, made it much harder to root for them. Like with all the stuff that you know about them, it's one thing. I mean, I guess nothing would justify how awful this has been between the money and what you traded to get him. But in addition to that, you made your team unlikable by absolutely selling your soul to get this guy with all of the baggage that he was bringing. Cam.
Yeah, for 20 years, people were rooting for the Browns to be good, and they finally were. They had a scrappy team with Baker Mayfield, who is an underdog himself. They win a playoff game against Pittsburgh and almost beat Kansas City in 2020, and then they need an adult in the room is the words that they used to describe replacing Baker Mayfield with this guy, who is the worst quarterback in the NFL and is the least rootable quarterback in player in sports. And Hembo mentioned his cap hit, his dead cap hit, because they can't get rid of him. But if they did, his dead cap hit next year is $172 million. So that just outlines just like 240 or something like that.
So it's like 75% of the cap.
They went from the most rootable team in sports to the least, and I don't feel bad for them at all.
Not at all. It's a disaster.
If they take that cap hit, they couldn't afford to pay Ohio State. Forget about an NFL roster.
And by the way, he couldn't play quarterback for them either.
No,
he's the worst one.
No, it's incredible how far they've fallen. And frankly, as one who has always liked, I root for their fans. The Cleveland fans are unbelievably good sports fans, and what they've had to suffer through for, well, I guess since the 60s has been excruciating.
I mean, if they have to pay him anyway, why not just play Jameis?
Exactly.
I mean, because
You're
the owner
exactly
won't let
right,
you.
Bubba.
The owner won't let you. The owner won't let you. It was the only game of the day between two winning teams. The entire weekend.
I didn't even think about that.
It was the only game in which the game kicked off with both teams having winning records, which is pretty remarkable when you think about it. And then it ended with the dumbest sequence I've ever seen in football. I've never seen a team handle a game worse. If the Jets lost that, I mean, I'm thinking about my beloved Bills Mafia, who adopted me last year because I recognize how good your quarterback is, while the rest of the world seems just to be in a clueless vacuum. But the way they coached the end of that game yesterday, I don't know what I would do. I would definitely be arguing you should not allow the coach on the plane back from Houston to Buffalo. That was the worst coached sequence of the NFL season, no matter what else happens.
I don't know how it's possible. I don't know how it happens. It's fine for Sean McDermott after the game to say, he won, it's on me, but that's not good enough. Like, it feels like the kind of thing that if Ken Dorsey did, he would definitely get fired.
Stace every once in a while watching games with me, when I'm yelling at the screen, she has this funny line now. She says it now because she knows I think it's funny. She goes, do you think, because she once said it, she said it about your Eagles when the Eagles were playing the Patriots in the Super Bowl for the first time, and they were down 2 scores, and they were huddling up and taking forever. You remember what I'm talking about?
All too well.
And I'm yelling at the TV. Stace said to me, and I quote, is it possible the coach doesn't know what the score is? And
yes, they have J.R. Smith on the sidelines.
It was so funny. And so now she says it all the time. And I said it yesterday. I said, is it possible the Bills don't know what the score is?
Time and score is the only thing that matters ever.
Do they think they're losing?
So bizarre.
Like, do they think they need to score?
It's not like Josh Allen was exactly cutting it up.
No.
No,
It was awful.
9 for 30.
No quarterback had been that inaccurate on 30 or more attempts in 30 years.
Like, everything good that can happen to you and bad can happen to you all happened in one game. It was epic. So the Ravens side of it is easy. Lamar equals awesome. Derrick Henry equals awesome. He was the missing piece. They're finally riding him late in these games. Incredible finish, incredible win. The Ravens right now, if you had to bet on it, I think would be the team I would bet on to come out of the AFC. So that's anything you want to do on them before I get to the other side?
It might be the best run game ever.
It's got to be up there.
It's right up there.
The question is, do they stay healthy? Because they're going to ride Lamar and they're going to ride Derrick Henry, and the season is really long. Let's see what happens. The other side of it, like the Bengals, their defense is so bad. But in these games against good teams, like they had Kansas City dead to rights, and they had Baltimore dead to rights yet. They had that game won. And Burrow throws a terrible interception late. And then they get a botched hold on a field goal. Otherwise, they're going to win that game. Just think how different you would feel right now if they were 2-3. If they beat Kansas City, they're 3-2, and we're talking about them as a Super Bowl team, despite how bad their defense has been. So look, Cleveland is terrible. The Steelers are not really that good. The Ravens are the class of that division, but the Bengals absolutely had them beat yesterday. Even at 1-4, I'm not ready to write off Cincinnati.
I'm going to look at the odds then for Cincinnati to make the playoffs, because I bet you can, if you think they might be able to make it all the way back, you can play them right now at plus 140. So what Vegas is telling me, that's a pretty short number. At plus 140.
Because their schedule is so easy.
Yeah, so that's a good take by you, and it's reflected in the betting market. Don't sell your Cincinnati Bengals stock right now. The process by which they've gotten here is a lot more favorable than their record would indicate.
Right, they're 1-4. Burrow was incredible yesterday, save for the one really, really bad play.
And so was Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase is incredible. I mean, that's nothing new.
Yeah, he's all the way there.
But listen to their schedule now. At the Giants, just say win or lose. At the Giants,
win.
2-4. At the Browns,
win.
3-4. Home Eagles,
win.
4-4. Home Raiders,
win.
5-4, and then they go to Baltimore. So they get their next crack at them. Let's even say they drop one of those. They lose to the Eagles. You're back to 4-5. If you're 4-5, you're in it. You're absolutely in it. And they still have games as the season goes on. They've got the Titans. They get Cleveland again. They still have their two games against the Browns, which are like buys. So I think the Bengals, if you made me bet on it right now, I would bet the Bengals will make the playoffs.
At plus 140, it's a good piece of number. And honestly,
it's not enough odds, though. It's not. I mean, that feels like Vegas is agreeing with me too much.
That's right. The other thing I'll say is 9-8 is going to get you in the playoffs in both conferences. Like the league is there's so much parity. It's so, you could say it's mediocre, but there's going to be a bunch of 8-9s and 9-8.